Tes. Teman-teman semua, aku minta penuhin kursi yang paling depan dulu ya. Yang belakang terutama, pindah ke depan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May I kindly have your attention as the Visiting Professor 2025 program is about to begin. We would like to remind everyone to kindly switch your mobile phones to silent mode to ensure our session runs smoothly. Thank you for your cooperation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, greetings of virtue and best wishes to us all. Welcome to the Honorable Professor Hidefumi Yoshii from Setsunan University, Japan, our distinguished guest lecturer. Head of study program and respected lecturers, and of course, our beloved participants. First of all, let us express our gratitude to God Almighty for His blessing of health and opportunity, allowing us to gather here today for second day of the Visiting Professor 2025 program. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Ines Takia from Industrial Chemical Engineering, Vocational School, Universitas Diponegoro. And I will serve as your Master of Ceremony for today's event. Before moving further into the agenda, let us take a brief moment of silence to pray. According to each of our beliefs, prayer begins. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the lecture, allow me to introduce today's moderator, Mr. Abdullah Malik Islam Firaldli, a lecturer at Department of Chemical Engineering, Universitas Diponegoro. He completed both his bachelor's and master's degrees in chemical engineering at Universitas Diponegoro, and is currently pursuing his doctoral study in the same field. His research focuses on membrane technology, food engineering, and sustainable process innovation, and he has published several works in reputable journals and conferences. With his academic and research contribution, we are honored to have Mr. Abdullah Malik Islam as today's moderator. Now, we will proceed to the main agenda of today's program, the Visiting Professor Lecture 2025, with the theme, Fundamentals of Food Encapsulation Technology, Spray Drying Technology, delivered by our distinguished guest lecturer, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii from Setsunan University, Japan. With that, I respectfully hand over the session to the moderator.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Industrial Chemical Engineering Technology Visiting Lecturer 2025. My name is Abdullah Malik Islam Firaldli, and I am so honored to be the moderator in this session. First of all, I would like to thank to our God because we can be here, we can be still alive. And then, thank you very much to join us today. It's truly inspiring to see our academic community gather here to learn and to exchange some ideas. Now, I'm so honored to introduce our speaker. Please show the profile for the Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Professor Hidefumi Yoshii is a faculty member of Department of Food Science and Nutrition at Setsunan University. He has developed like fish oil encapsulation and developing novel packaging methods. In addition of research, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii also served as reviewer in many multiple international journals and as active speaker in international conference. Today, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii will give insight to us about spray drying, about macroencapsulation for food materials. Okay, without further ado, let's invite our speaker to the stage. Please give warm applause to Mr. Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Okay, you can sing. Okay, では you can stand and you can light over.
Yeah. Can I have that?
Yeah, 7 時間お願いいたします。
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you to join my lecture. So today I'd like to talk about fundamentals of food encapsulation technology. So I came from Osaka. So first, this is the basic definition of encapsulation. So encapsulation technology has been used in the food industry for more than 60 years as a way to barrier for environmental and or chemical interactions until release is described. This is the definition of in 1994. Approximately 60 years ago, encapsulation processes were developed. It involves the coating and entrapment. So encapsulation means the coating and entrapment of pure material or mixtures into another material. The coated or entrapped material is usually a liquid, but can't be a solid or gas. Natural examples include bird eggshells, plant seeds, bacterial spores, skin, and seashells. So as you know, we can see the many powder, food case, instant coffee, milk, powdered health food and flavor, powder oil, egg powder. In the pharmaceutical region, drug enzyme, vaccine, vitamins, yeast. But recently, pharmaceutical company focus antibody encapsulation. So recently the pharmaceutical is the antibody, not synthesized organic compound. So this is various food ingredients that have been encapsulated. We can see the many kind of the powder. So this is an example of food aroma powder. Coffee, tea, soup, so there's some kind of soup. Those product is a powder. Also, some healthy powder is you can see the many product, but especially is milk powder for baby. So this is the same photographs of the instant coffee. So this is the powder, but they have big vacuole and particle. We can see the separate, not aggregated. But when we drink the instant coffee, we add the milk powder. Milk powder case, this powder is aggregated. So When we check the powder, we have to check the size and shape and aggregate it, or one piece or two piece, and so size of the powder is very important. So recently, why is the inspiration necessary for developing functional food? So that recently in Japan, older aged people increase. Therefore, in Japan, we need the pharmaceutical, like the functional food, like the pharmaceutical compound. Why we need functional food powder? Increase elderly population above 60 years old in Japan, especially. So then we can see the nanotechnology development, and also nano-emergent, novel expression technology we can see. So technology plus nano size mean the small size. This ability to work at atomic, molecular, and even submolecular levels in order to create and use material, structure, devices, and systems with new properties and functions. So the small size oil droplet have new properties and functions. So this is Indonesian's population pyramid last year. So maybe your age and this one. But the Indonesians, elderly people population is small, above 70 or 65. So this is the Indonesia's health and medical standards. So 2019 data, and the average life is male is almost 70, female is 74. Central Java is 71 and 75. This is average life, but the healthy life without ill. Healthy life, 61 to male case, female case 62, almost 60. Almost the average life is almost 70, and the healthy life is 60. Almost 10 years they have ill. So and then percentage of people ages 18 and over with high blood pressure, because Indonesia's palm oil is very cheap. At hotel, when we check the food, many food include the oil, especially saturated oil. Therefore, the males 31% have a high blood pressure. Female case 35. So in Indonesia's major disease is 20 diseases, brain, stroke, 21%. Myocardial infarction 80%, diabetes 5%. So this factor, so means the lipid, palm oil, and then low vegetable intake, because the vegetable is expensive, oil is very cheap. So 10 years with disease calm is important. So we want to enlarge the healthy life. So And then this is some of the map of the with healthy life years. So Central Java is about the 60. And then problem is the high blood pressure. So the Indonesia, palm oil is very cheap. Palm oil is saturated. So but we have to get the unsaturated fatty acid. So therefore in Japan, we can see the many functional food, supplement, and functional food trend. So when we want to get some kind of the healthy life, so the Japanese like the functional food. But the functional food, medical food, organic food, novel food. When we see the functional food product, those products is almost the powder, include the oil. So this is the nanoscale material in food industry, almost 2006 years in Journal of Trend Food Science Technology. Those papers show the functional beverage, personalized food, smart filter, smart sensor, sanitizer, novel expression. So when we see this sentence, we can see the emulsion, nano-emulsion. So the functional food and also the new cosmetic product. Those products have a small size oil drop. So the product containing omega-3 fatty acid. So omega-3 means the unsaturated fish oil, not palm oil. So the DHA, EPA, those oil affect the blood pressure. Main play role the decrease of the blood pressure. So the incorporation of fish oil by spread drying. Functional food was the largest application. But those products, India, Germany, Netherlands, USA, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, those products formed by spread drying. So maybe you can see the many functional food, but the main product, mainly the fish oil. So the milk powder for children. So those products contain the DHA, EPA, fish oil. And then also the fiber, soluble fiber compound is important in the functional food. And then, but the functional food, we can see the three types in the major type: fish oil, fiber, and yogurt. Those is functional food, typical functional food. So the powder formation of fish oil is high content of the unsaturated fatty acid, PUFA, with spread drying. So the unsaturated fatty acid, EPA, have 5 double bond. DHA case and the 6 double bond. These double bond is very important. Palm oil saturated fatty acid, not unsaturated fatty acid. So omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acid have a lowering effect of serum triglyceride, anti-allergic effect, anti-obesity effect. So used for the supplement and the medicines. Problem is the easy oxidation. So those double bond, easy oxidation. So expression of fish oil by spray drying, initially we have to make the emulsion solution. And then after spray drying, we can get the spray dried powder. So this emulsion contain the functional oil, such as the fish oil and the raw material, emulsifier. 3 ingredients we need to get the powder. So first process is emulsification. And the second process is the spray drying. When we want to make the spray dried powder, every time we have to think about the first process, emulsification process. And then, oh, this is, please cut the liquid droplet formation, not atomizer, yeah, raw material. And then, in the drying process, the first, this kind of film formation covered, and the inside still include water. And the film formation process is very important. And then drying, evaporate the water, and we can get the encapsulated oil. So when this is a cross-sectional view of the powders with different oil droplet size. This powder size about 6 meters. So large oil droplet case. Oh, this is oil droplet. And then this small oil droplet. This oil droplet about 2 micrometer, and this 10 micrometer, this bar, but 2 micrometer and 4 micrometer. Small oil droplet is about the 0.2 micrometers oil droplet. So when we check the powder structure, oil droplet and the powder size is very important. And then when we see these oil encapsulate the raw material. But when we make the larger oil droplet, 3 micrometer, 4 micrometer, those oil not encapsulate. So the oil droplet size is important. And then surface oil means the not encapsulated oil. Yeah. For example, this large emulsion, 4 micrometers. This is 0.84 micrometers. The same size is all the same. So when we see that this 4 micrometer, 0.84 micrometer, size of the oil droplet is very important. Size is very important. Oil, for example, another type, and when we make the cream of the custard cream, 2 micrometer protein, we can feel the very smooth, oh, this is very nice custard cream. But about aggregate protein, initial protein, 10 micrometer, 20 micrometer. micrometers oil droplet. Oil is this is the oil we can feel. Below 0.5 micrometer. So small oil droplets. We cannot feel the oil. So the oil droplet size is very important. So then, this is slide shows the oil existing place in spread dried powder. Inside, surface oil. Surface oil means that as soap oil or contact oil. Yeah. And then inside the oil, closure, open pores. Therefore, when we make the powder, amount of the encapsulated oil is important. Surface oil case easily oxidized in the oxidant condition. Oh. This is the surface oil ratio of spread drying powder compares with these estimated value by the simple model and the percolation model. So this is the DE, the average oil droplet size by average powder size, DE by DP. Surface oil ratio means the not encapsulated oil ratio amount in total oil in powder. So usually the product, industrial product, this ratio is below 0.01. So therefore, for example, oil droplet size is 1 micrometer case. Powder size above 100 micrometer. So the above 0.01, this ratio increase case in the surface oil the increase. This is a simple model. Surface oil ratio in the spread dried powders case. E means the DE by DP. DP is the powder size, DE is the oil droplet size. So we can estimate it. Surface oil ratio using this D by DP. Therefore, the average oil droplet size is important. But also, we have to think about the amount of the oil in powder. Industry, usually the fish oil powder case, about the 40%. But the fragrance, aroma case, aroma is very, very expensive oil. Therefore, the 20%, 10%, they make those product powder. But the food industry, oil content is very high. So, and then how to form spread dried powder? This is one example of the spread dryer type. So maybe the not perfectly spread dryer, but you can see the spread dryer in the pilot hall. What's the room number is spread dryer. You can see the spread dryer. Biotechnology is pilot room, and you can see the shape. And the spread drying condition in that air temperature, outlet air temperature, atomizer speed, or this is to form the mist. So the small liquid droplet, and then liquid flow rate, gas flow rate. We need those parameters. So the inlet air temperature in the industry in the 180, 160, 140. But usually the industry, you can see the outlet temperature about 90, sometimes below 90. So and then atomizer speed is depend on the nozzle type, atomizer type. And then we can control the flow rate, gas flow rate. Those parameters is important. So and then we check the powder structure, those properties. But the first, please remember, outlet temperature about 90 degrees Celsius. This is usually the basic factors. So the composition of the feed solution, distilled water, solid content. When we make the powder, solid is contain the fish oil, raw materials, and the emulsifier. Or in this case, we add some the fluorescence compound. But please remember the solid content is very important when we make the feed solution. What percentage of the water? Cosmetic company, fragrance powder case, usually the oil content is 30%, below 30%. But the food industry, sometimes fish oil is 40%, but recently the MCT oil is when we want to get some kind of the muscles types body, they do not drink, and they eat the MCT oil powder. Those powder contain the MCT oil above 70%, sometimes 80%, 90%. So when we think about the feed solution, so solid content is important. In food industry, solid content is recently 50%. But the cosmetic company's powder, solid content is 30%. Because the price of the powder is very important in food industry. So the preparation of the fish oil powder case, in this case, we homogenize those solutions, the first emulsification, mechanical homogenizer, and the second emulsification is high pressure homogenizer. We get the small oil droplet or large oil droplet feed solution. And then after spread drying, we check the vacuole size and the powder size and the vacuole percentage. And then measure the surface oil content by some method. But surface oil ratio means the surface oil, not encapsulated oil, by the total oil in powder. So this is the same photograph of the fish. This is the fish oil case, but we change the dextrose equivalent of the small DE is starch, and the large DE glucose. So DE, maltodextrin, DE mean the size of the glucose. Dextrose equivalent, 8 case, the vacuole size is very large. DE40, some kind of syrup case, vacuole size is very small. And then also, the surface structure is different. So that this vacuole size is very important to see the structure of the powder. In the milk powder case, I had the Cimarron and had a Danone factory, not factory, milk factory. So Danone is a very famous company, and also Nestle.
Yeah.
Nestle. But the Cimarron don't have the, yeah. Danone, yeah. And then these dextrose equivalent affect the film formation rate. The 40 case, film formation rate is very rapid. So those film formation mechanisms affect the size of the vacuole. So in this case, we make the same oil droplet about 1 micrometer, powder size about 60 or 50. So that we make the same oil drop size, same powder size powder. And then we check the percentage of vacuole powder using the CLSM. So that maybe the student count the powder, or this, we slice the laser, slice the powder by laser, and this powder have a vacuole, this powder had not vacuole. Maybe the 1,000 particle, they counted. And then the 8 case, about the 64% powder have a vacuole. But the D40 case, 25, small amount of vacuole. So, and then also, the 8 case, 30 micrometers vacuole, the 40 case, 7.5 micrometer. So, dextrose equivalent affect the vacuole size because the DE affect the film formation rate. So D8, D40, and the vacuole percentage surface, we can see that this kind of the table. And then, so the high vacuole powder have a high oil content, surface oil ratio. And then this is the dV by dP, vacuole, average vacuole size by powder size. This is the high vacuole size mean the larger amount of the surface oil. So this is the storage days. 60 degrees of Celsius. At store the 60 degrees Celsius. After stores, we measure the peroxide value. This is surface oil case. Rapidly oxidize because they're not encapsulated. And then also the VE affects the oxidation rate of encapsulated powder. So this is the logarithm plot, but the conventional plot case, V11 case, the oxidation rate of peroxide value is increased, get the high PV, but the D9025 is oil is stable. So therefore the DE, when we select the DE of the maltodextrin, is very important to get the stabilized oil powder. So for example, this is the structure of spread dried powder containing emulsified fish oil, small oil droplet or large oil droplet. So we have to control the oil droplet size. Oil droplet affect the surface oil ratio. So when we think about the stability of the oil in powder, we have to check the surface oil ratio. Small surface oil ratio is better to get the stable oil. So for example, this is the same photograph of the powder. Powder has a big vacuole, especially milk powder case. Milk powders, this thickness is very, very thin. So and then when we check this oil droplet size in the industrial fish oil powders product, so average, so some companies powder average powder size is 300 micrometer, and then oil droplet size is 0.3 micrometer. D by dP is almost 1/3. The Japanese very big chemical companies case, and those powder is size is 300 micrometer. Size of the powder, and then also oil droplet size is very important. So in conclusion, in this part, in the conclusion, spread drying is an important unit preparation to form the functional food powder. Recently in Japan, and also maybe 10 years ago, and not 10 years, 10 years, functional food compound is very important because every day you take the palm oil. So in this presentation, we show the selection of raw material and the emulsification condition affected the stability of the functional oil in the spread dried powder. Fish oil powder case, mainly the fish oil powder used the baby's milk powder. Norway and some kind of the European or Canada country they produce the DHA, EPA, the fish oil, also in Japan. But the formation powder technology is in European country, Swiss country, Japanese company, they make the milk, very good milk powder. Shelf life of the fish oil powder, about 1.5 years. Shelf life is important. In India, outside temperature, almost like Indonesia, 40 degrees Celsius. They, maybe the packed milk powder put on the room temperature. So 40 degrees Celsius. So the fish oil stability is very important. So and then this is almost the same type of the presentation. So the food powder size, this size, food powder, about almost about 1 micrometer. So powder size in the powder, free flowing is very important. So the purpose of powder formation, form a liquid to the solid powder, keep a volatile compound in the powder, stabilize compound for heat and oxygen at all, release control of flavor or functional compound, stabilize functional compound in food. It's very important. So, for example, Indonesia, in summer, we can see the Japanese tea. Japanese tea, but those tea produced by Indonesia. But when the product of the tea in Japan case, when we want to sell the Japanese tea, so the tea, the essential powder is only the 3%, 2%. Therefore, when we import the tea from Japan, initially the dry up and they get the 2% of the powder, and then combine the powder to the Asian country and then pour the water. So, purpose of the powder formation to get the stable powder and then also easily transportation. And then purpose of the powder formation, mainly the purpose is the stabilization of the core material. Also suppression of water availability and the release control availability. So those powder contain the water, small amount of the water. Usually the powder, industrial products, powder case, below 5% of the water content. Above 5% is so some kind of dangerous and bacterial formation. So when we see the encapsulation powder, some powder is the core material and the raw material, like the egg. But usually the fish oil powder case, this get the distributed oil in powder. So these powder produced by the spread drying. Also sometimes we use the cycle reaction in the call the molecular encapsulation, but usually the powder, oil powder is this kind of the powder. When the company make the bread, they use the oil powder. But in Japan case, and when we see the bread company, bread factory, near bread company, we can see the formation of the oil powder company. So because the bread company use the oil powder, because with the powder mixing easily, that we can mix, and the powder and the oil mixing is very difficult. So and then we have to remember the definition of the technical word in the encapsulation. Oil is, we call the core or internal phase, and coating material, coating region, we call the wall, shell, carrier, coating material, external phase. But usually we call the wall materials. And then core materials, fish oil case, core material. So this is the example of the wall material: sugar, corn, syrup, maltodextrin, cyclodextrin, starch, gum case, gum arabic, some lipid case, and paraffin and the fatty acid derivatives, and inorganic cellulose protein. But usually the Arabic gum, modified starch, casein, whey protein, glycerin fatty acid, those is the emulsifier. So chewing gum case. Indonesia ada chewing gum minta.
Permen karet.
Chewing gum.
Permen karet.
Yeah. Don't throw the chewing gum and to the.
Yeah.
I have to pay some money to the
Oh.
police, but the Arabic gum is the natural emulsifier.
Yeah.
And then also the whey protein and the casein and the modifier, these are the emulsifier for food. But recently the whey protein, milk protein, those protein have allergic effect. In Japan, and for example, and maybe these 40 people, by those 40, one group is 40, one person have allergy for some kind of protein or another compound. Recently, 2 people in 40 student group have allergic effect. Therefore, the company don't use the casein, whey protein to change the modified starch. And then also the pea protein in the small allergic effect. Therefore, the European country, they want to use the pea protein, not whey protein, milk protein, casein. So the core materials is the flavor, acid, buffer, lipid, enzyme, artificial sweet, redox agent. So we can see the many core materials. But recently, pharmaceutical company focus antibody to make the or messenger RNA, because for COVID, we inject the messenger RNA
Yeah.
for the anti-COVID. Also in
Yes.
yeah,
Also in
messenger
Indonesia.
RNA, yeah. So those RNA is a very, very unstable. Those solutions keep the minus 70 degrees Celsius. But that goes company want to make the powder, keep the powder, and then solvent and then inject.
Yeah.
So, but the fish, those formation powder case, RNA case, the freeze drying. But the freeze drying process is a very high cost, need a high cost. You have the problem. So, merit of the expression reduce the reactivity of the core with regard to the outside environment. For example, oxygen and water. Decrease the evaporation or transfer rate of the core material with regard to the outside environment. Control the release of the core material, mask the taste of the core, dilute the core material. So the encapsulation is very important. So for example, release control is very important. So the last days, I and my wife get the Indonesian Japanese restaurant. We went, and then we ordered some kind of the chirashi like the donburi. Those rice contain the red liquid, very, very hot. In Japan, Japanese don't like those hot, but you like the hot rice. So but we can control the release rate of the hot, how can I say, the lead liquid. Yeah.
Oil. Ya, minyak lah, saus. Intinya saus pedasnya itu nggak secepat gitu buat masuk gitu loh.
Yeah.
Jadi nggak pedas-pedas banget, nah intinya gitu.
Therefore, the Japanese company encapsulated those oil into the ether. So initially we can not feel the hot, but after eating,
Iya.
sometimes get the feeling of the hot. Another product is initially is very hot, but the small and this, we can control the
Release.
hot in using the release rate.
Iya.
So the release control is important. So the techniques of aroma and another oil expression case, physical method, chemical method, and the cell method using the yeast. And in physical method, we can see the spread drying, freeze drying, extrusion, air suspension, crystal transformation. Spread drying, freeze drying, extrusion, air suspension, we call the glass encapsulation. So what mean the glass? And the rapid drying, maltodextrin is dried maltodextrin is amorphous, not crystal. Therefore, we call the glass encapsulation. So we can see the many structure of the powder, encapsulation mechanism various powder reduction method. But almost in food industry, above 80%, above 70% is the spread drying because the cost is very cheap. So in food industry, cost thinking is very important. So, and then also we can see the many type of the encapsulated powder. So please check when you buy some kind of the food containing the powder, please check this is salt, this is sugar, this is some kind of the plant oil and so on. So please check the structure. With the spray drying, oil rolling from 10 to 50%. But recently, the MCT oil powder case, the content is 70%, 80% using the modified starch. Powder size 20 to 150, but usually the powder size is 100 micrometer, near 200 micrometer. Sometimes we can see the small powder, but usually spray dried powder is above 100 micrometer. And then you can see another type of the powder, but mainly food powder formed by spray drying, produced by spray drying. You can see the many type of the spray dryer, and then also some university have a small type of the spray dryer, butcher type. Butcher type of spray dryer is antibody case, very expensive protein case. This is a production scale, is small quantity, but they use this kind of spray dryer. But in food industry, milk company, world largest dairy spray dryer, 30 tons per hour milk powder plant. They have a very big spray dryer. So this is a general spray drying system. Chamber, heater, and some kind of brewer and cyclone. And then pump, feed rig pump, and atomizer. Rotary atomizer, pressure atomizer. Atomizer structure is very important. So when we check the spray dryer type, what type of the nozzle type, and then size of the chamber is also important. And then you have to check the outlet temperature, inlet temperature, but usually you have to check the outlet temperature. Outlet temperature is important. Formation the liquid droplet by atomizer, the pressure atomizer, or this place make the liquid droplet. Therefore, when we make the liquid droplet, initial feed solution viscosity is important. High viscosity solution case, we cannot get the small liquid droplet. So therefore, the liquid feed solution, we have to check the feed solution viscosity, like the water, or like some kind of the soup, and so viscosity is important. Characteristics of spread drying, merit of the spread drying, liquid is transformed directly in solid particles. The effect of the spread drying, So we need a for drying, we need a high temperatures gas, air. Therefore, the thermal degradation of heat-sensitive compound. So the thermal degradation is important. And then also we have to think about the homogenization process. Also, you have to see there's some kind of radical formation. So, when we think about the raw material, please remember that this word. Please remember this, only that this word is important, glass transition temperature. When you go to the lunch, please remember only the glass transition temperature. Glass transition temperature. Please throw away another knowledge, but please keep the glass transition temperature. So, this is a candy, very glass state. When we add the heat and moisture, candy, some kind of aggregated, lava state, soft, in Japanese, and yawarakai. So, this state morphous, but also lava and glass state. So, in this pore of this is some of the molecules in the pore of in the food is increased. Glass transition temperature. For example, you have some kind of CD and recently you don't use the CD plate.
CD.
The sound CD. But maybe the recently people don't use only the download. So the CD case, maybe the environment temperature, the 40 case is safe, but the 60.
Ya, jadi kalau ada
Yeah,
tempat CD,
yeah.
ada tempat CD kalau dikasih panas itu lama-kelamaan jadi kayak karet gitu loh. Nah, jadi kalau misalkan diperhatikan, karena diberikan suhu, because they are given the temperature, the powder, jadi lebih mudah untuk larut gitu. Makanya terjadi namanya glass transition temperature.
Yeah. So mean the hard state, hard and soft.
Ya. Karena banyak hole, lubang-lubang di situ lebih mudah jadinya.
So the effect of the moisture. So the candy absorb the water, candy the soft. And then also some kind of cookie, hard cookie. Cookie absorb the water, moisture, and cookie
Iya.
became the soft.
Iya.
This behavior is important, or just so effect of the moisture absorption on the phase change of the spread dry powder. This is environment temperature is 3%, 45%, 65, 80%. Some powder absorb the moisture, and the powder structure is changed. So some powder ambient temperature absorb the water, powder aggregated, and then make some large particle. Therefore, when we make the powder, content of the moisture is important. Also, environment temperature is important. when we stir the powder, the moisture absorption behavior is important. So, in the spray drying, please remember the raw materials glass transition temperature. The key factor is glass transition temperature. This is for the photograph that are inside chambers of the spray dryer. Powder attached. This is some Nestle companies photo, and the powder thickness observed on the wall of the industrial spray dryer. So this is the same of fish oil powder, oil loading 30% case. Some oil size, also the powder structure affect the stability of the oil, and then I want to talk about the detail of the glass transition temperature. What is the glass transition? It's a food-related phenomena that occurs during glass transition. So this figure shows the moisture absorption isosurface. X-axis water activity, Y-axis water content in powder, dry matter, kilogram water by kilogram dry matter, dry powder. When we want to get this kind of the figure, you need the desiccator, only the desiccator and water and salt. So you don't need the machine, only the balance and desiccator. So the AW means the vapor pressure of the water, pure water in food, or water in food. Vapor pressure of pure water, this ratio, like the relative humidity. So the monolayer absorption region, powder is very stable, free flowing. Also this region is stable, but the high humidity condition, high water activity condition, powder is very unstable. So then sometimes you can get this kind of the curve by the experiment. So some salt, sodium chloride, get this kind of curve. Another type is this kind of curve. In the dawn 1, dawn 2, dawn 3. Dawn 3 is powder is very unstable. And then when we get this kind of hot and cold temperature history, or relative humidity history is important. And then, so when we think about the small size phenomena, this is a food or some kind of the compound energy and temperature, x-axis temperature. Glass state energy is almost the same, and then change, the slope is change. And then this is glass transition temperature. But how to measure the glass transition temperature? Specific heat, volume, rate constant, diffusivity. So when we want to get this kind of the temperature, it is not easy to get the glass temperature. But put on the powder in some of the share, glass container,
Yeah.
and then please measure the environment, humidity. When you see the aggregated protein,
Will.
so the another stage in the very stable free flowing powder, and then aggregated, those emit, those boundary temperature is glass transition temperature. So, and then also we have to think about water activity, but just, this. For example, please think about a cookie. In Japan case, okaki, and some kind of the okaki. I don't. When we in the hotel, near soup or bread case, and some kind of like okaki.
Oh, jadi kalau kena
Yeah.
kelembapan nanti
Yeah.
susah buat patah,
Yeah.
jadi nggak crunchy
Yeah.
gitu loh.
Those-
Amoh gitu lah.
Those products absorb the water
From moisture.
moisture and they're very soft.
Jadi kayak amoh gitu, kayak masuk angin lah ibarat kata.
The
Tahu kan?
cookie is very hard,
Paham?
soft, crispy, soft.
Iya.
This region and the water temperature is important. So this is the free flowing powder case agglomerated. So that when we think about the food, grass and the rubber, very soft. Cookie is very hard and soft. Heating, the humidification, the moisture absorption, this region's temperature. This glacial temperature depends on the material. So glass is the substance that when rapidly cooled and dehydrated in a molten solution state does not keep up with the molecular arrangement required for crystallization and solidifies without the unordered structure. Usually the candy pasta, sorry. Amorphous solid became the crystal state. This state, glass transition temperature. So I skipped So glass transition means some kind of powder solid, not liquid, like liquid aggregated. This boundary region in the glass transition. So the candy and the aggregated candy, heat and moisture make the aggregated.
Sticky.
So I check maybe you can measure the DSC or another instrument. You can measure the glass transition temperature. So glass transition temperature depends on the water content. This is a maltose glucose case. Food powder case glass transition temperature depend on the water content. Glass transition temperature depend on the moisture content. So please remember, glass transition temperature. Glass transition temperature depend on the moisture content. So maybe the glass transition temperature of various food. Maltose 87, sucrose 72, galactose 32, and glucose 31, fructose 14, and so some kind of the syrup, we can't make the powder because those mixture of the compound have a low glass-on temperature. So you can measure the high glass-on temperature compound, we can make the powder. So sometimes honey, we cannot get the powder. Maybe you cannot see the honey powder. Honey, they sell only the glass bottle, not powder. So glass-on temperature depends on molecular weight and the water activity. So sometimes we can estimate the glass transition temperature. Yeah. So glass transition temperature affect the non-enzymatic browning reaction, Maillard reaction. And so just those glass temperature affect the factors of thickness. So affecting factor, high hygroscopy, high solubility, low melting temperature, low glass transition temperature. So when we see the sugars, lactose, maltose, sucrose, glucose, fructose, melting point is at this point. But the TG, fructose, 5. Lactose and about 100. So powder's thickness, free-flowing behavior is when we check the product of the powder, thickness. Thickness means that aggregated powder is important. So for example, in spread drying, non-thickness powder case, we can get the powder.
Yeah.
Oh. And then about sometime we can, thickness powder case. Sometimes we cannot get the
Powder.
So raw materials glass-on temperature. We have to think about glass-on temperature of the raw material. So no thickness powder case, we cannot get the powder, but the thickness powder, we can't get the powder. So x-axis water content, y-axis the glass transition temperature of the powder. So when we measure the TG curve of the powder, nearly about the higher than the glass transition temperature, this is the thickness temperature. So in this very thickness raw material case, when we add some kind of maltodextrin, includes the glass temperature, we can get the higher glass temperature of the raw material after maltodextrin addition. So glass thickness temperature's curve is increased. Then, for example, the spread drying of raw material with high TG case. Powder temperature, this is water content. Powder initially, the water content is very high, and then this way. And this state is below thickness temperature. Oh, just. So, these wall materials and the water content, this thickness curve is very important. When we want to get the powder, we have to think about glass transition temperature. So, phenomenon caused by glass transition, characteristics of glass state applied the preservation method. Diffusion control, reaction control, color change, flavor release, and unfavorable change in food due to glass transition. Adhesion, aggregation of powder, collapse of food. So when we think about glass transition, we can see some mechanism of the phase change, food properties change. So in food, please remember the only one word, glass transition temperature. So please remember, glass transition temperature, only the glass transition temperature.
Okay.
So glass transition temperature is usually one particle and aggregated particle. Boundary temperature at glass transition. For example, this is maltodextrin and mannitol spread dry powder, keep the 60, 90, 120. And then at 60, we can see the particle. But the 120, we cannot see the particle. So, glass transition affect the flowing properties of the powder and the properties of powder, physical properties of powder. Therefore, this is some particle temperature trajectory in the spread line. The solid line shows the glass transition temperature of the compound. Red line, thickness temperature. And then, after spread line, the powder should be below glass transition temperature. Above glass transition temperature, we cannot get the powder. Those glass temperature depend on the material. So, for example, this y-axis, the relative humidity, is some kind of the sugars, starch, dextrose. This is a 20 dextrose, maltodextrin. Some kind of the sugar syrup case. High humidity case, clear syrup. But those powder state, sugar case, depend on the glass transition temperature. So powder solidity, disappearability, stability of functional substances. So the use of wall material with low TG. So the company person want to make the powder, some kind of hydrolyzed protein powder, but hydrolyzed protein have a low glass temperature. Therefore, we cannot get the powder. So we want to make the enzyme powder, but enzyme denatures with high temperature. So if when we want to make the powder, free-flowing powder, first we have to measure the glass transition or physical properties in moisture condition. At high humidity condition, when we cannot get the free-flowing powder, so that means difficult to make the powder. So this is some kind of analysis method of the powder, but the most easy method, please prepare the desiccator or a plastic box, and then you can control the humidity with salt, sodium chloride, some another salt, lithium chloride, and then please check the powder state. You only need some kind of recently the mobile phone is enough. Please take the photo. So this maybe the overview of spread drying process. So maybe the student don't like the long lecture and then
Kepanjangan waktunya.
summarize and
No problem, no problem.
No,
It's
no.
okay.
Yeah. But many persons want to go to lunch and spread dryer have this kind of the structure. So, but please check what kind of the atomizer they use. Rotary atomizer, pressure atomizer, two-phase atomizer, and what's the atomizer? Atomizer means make the small liquid droplet. So you don't spread dryer, but in the airport you can see the mist because recently is a very, very high temperature. Environment temperature is very high, 34, 30. But in Japan, recently is environment temperature higher than the Indonesia. Recently is 34 and 35. But in Japan, near 40. Very strange condition. But in the train station, airport, and we can see the mist. That nozzle. So that nozzle is a pressure atomizer. So atomizer means the formation of the mist of the liquid droplet. So advantage of spread drying, low cost in food industry. Many companies use the spread dryer because the process cost is low cost. High yield, solubility, fine powder, use friendly. But this advantage is the narrow selectivity of raw material. So we have to select the high glass transition temperatures materials. And then difficulties with unstable substances. So expression process of functional oil case, materials, raw material, functional oil. Raw material include the emulsifier. And the process, so first, process, please. When the Herman distribute this kind of the slide, please
Okay.
proof this bar.
Nanti tolong diperbaikin.
Evaluation. So first, please remember the raw material, core material. Raw material contain the some kind of emulsifier, make the small oil droplet. And then, in this case, we have to think about glass transition temperature. So, spread drying is very simple, but the process is simple, but we have to know some technique. So, type of the atomizer, that follows a rotary atomizer, but some pressure nozzle, and you can see the shopping mall and some kind of airport and street. So the comparison of atomizer, rotary, pressure, two-flow sonic. But maybe you can see the several types of the nozzle atomizer. So when you use this kind of correlation equation, you can estimate the liquid droplet size. And then shape of the atomizing unit. Some atomizer placed on the top, but some instrument, this is the box, chamber is this kind of type, and this many atomizer. But in the milk company, they use the pressure atomizer. So airflow pattern is, you can see them several pattern, but the simple pattern is this kind of pattern. Air in is top, liquid also the feed is the top, and then product air out is the bottom, and then these products go to the cycle and they separate the powder. And the shape is several types, but the simple one is this kind of type. So, factor of physical properties for spread dried powder. Nozzle. So nozzle means atomizer. And then adsorption. When we make the liquid feed, sometimes store the feed liquid. In this process, in the storage of the feed liquid, adsorption, mechanical adsorption or some kind of physical adsorption occur. Therefore, the stainless steel and the box material is important. And then also, in this case, factors, raw materials, moisture, functional material. Raw material case, moisture absorption, glass transition temperature. So when we prepare the raw material, sometimes raw material absorb the moisture. Therefore, when we calculate how to make the feed solution, measure this is the sugar, this is the emulsifier, this is some kind of another compound, core material, but the raw material absorb the moisture. So we have to recalculate. So and then also functional material case, distribution of the functional compound in the powder. So how distribute the oil droplet in the powder. And then and then when you think about formation of the powder, environmental humidity is very important. Therefore, you have to see this kind of the chart. Maybe you have you run this kind of chart from him or Herman, and so please remember the absolute humidity. But now is in this lecture, please throw away. Please only the glass transition temperature.
Okay.
And then, because in the spread drying, we need environment temperature. So humidity and the gas flow, materials, moisture change. So balance of the water. So spread drying and another chemical unit operation, we have to think the mass balance. Therefore, the high humidity condition. So in Japan, rainy season, winter, dry season, drying rate is change. But in Indonesia, so recently, maybe you cannot see the rainy season.
Yeah.
Which month is rainy season? But the rainy season, difficult to get the dried powder. So therefore, please remember, rainy, high humidity condition, high temperature, high humidity condition, difficult to get the dried powder. So that therefore, Finland and North countries better to make the dried powder, because the water content in air is very low.
Jadi kelembaban itu penting, tolong dipikirin kalau untuk spray drying.
So, and then morphology of spread dryer. So,
Yeah.
so when we think about the spread dry, make the initial droplet, but the product structure is very different. Some hollow particle, shriveled particle, and we can see the many type of the structure. So, for example, this is surface crater. We can see the crater. Some particle, very smooth surface. This is a crystal. Crystal an inner structure. So you can see the many type of the structure, morphology, and then external image and the cross-sectional image. The milk protein powder. You can see the many big vacuole. Depend on the raw material product. And then when you change the oil content, the oil powder's structure is also different. Because maybe the size is 50 10 micrometer, and then oil content affect the feed solution's viscosity. So also the dextrose equivalent affect the external structure. And then this is the effect of crystal content of the inner structure. So the crystal material affect the structure of the powder. And then small amount of the additives affect the structure. This is total house spread dry powder. When we add the bovine serum albumin, small amount of the 1 gram of the total house, add the 0.2 milligram of the BSA. When we add the BSA, external structure different. So beta-lactoglobulin case also change the external structure because the BSA lactoglobulin is the water soluble and then water soluble protein, but a little bit hydrophobic structure. Air is the hydrophobic. Sometimes when we add the detergent in the water, so hydrophilic region, hydrophilic region is the inside of the water. Hydrophobic region on the air, in the air. Therefore, the outer region BSA content increase. Therefore, and then, this is the yeast spread dryer shape, and this is another type, and just. So, drying condition, and then also raw material, and then film formation rate affect the morphology of the spread dried powder. And then morphology of powder affect the stability of the core material in the powder. And then recently, this is the 95%, or this is the year, and then under 83% is the organic synthesis pharmaceutical compound. So recently, from chemical drugs to biological drug, in the pharmaceutical industry, they spray dry, get the antibody powder. 1990s, small molecules, mainly by oral. So the drug mean the oral drug, 1990. But now it's 2025. Almost a new drug, almost 80% is the antibody, not oral drug. Almost the injection for the cancer. Therefore, recently, spread drying focus, pharmaceutical drying method, mainly the freeze dry. But the freeze drying method is very expensive. Therefore, sometimes they have a research to form the antibody powder by spread dry. And then also, recently, messenger RNA, DNA form them. Those powder, formation of the recombinant RNAs powder. So on that case, process is very, very small. So the effect of the raw material on protein stability. So when we think about the protein powder case, also we have to think of glass transition temperature, water absorption properties. So this is the enzyme in trial solution. After spread drying, enzyme coated some kind of the sugar. So maybe almost 25 years ago, so the protein, powder formation protein is some kind of research topics. But after COVID, the research focus is the formation of the RNA powder. There's some kind of research topics. So in food industry, we still have many engineering problems, but the pharmaceutical company also, they focus another material. Almost 1990s era. In that case, we want to make the pharmaceutical powder from the organic synthesis material. But recently, focus to the antibody and RNA. So trend is different. So challenging topics. So that recently, not recently, and almost 2000, industry formation of the nanoemulsion. So nanoemulsion using for the cosmetic vitamin E solution for the skin. So the powder formation of functional lipid with good rigidity and solubility. So the search of optimal materials and operation method, release control of hygroscopic properties, control of powder morphology, control of powder properties. So recently in food industry, how to control the oil droplet size. Because the small oil droplet is surface area very high. So increase the instability of oxidation. So, but how to get the optimum oil size? And then oil droplet size near below 100 nanometer, 0.1 micrometer. When we eat the small size oil droplet at the intensity, cell junction. So the intensity have a many cells. Many cells have a pipe. Cell have some kind of cell-cell junction. Small of oil droplet through this cell junction. Give the small oil droplet. When we eat the small oil droplet, at intensity membrane don't have no selection. Therefore, the EU countries don't use the small oil droplet below 300 nanometers
Okay.
for food.
Ya. Jadi
But sometimes, and in Japan, and maybe the approved flavors, drinks,
iya. Nah.
and but they can be transparent. Those flavors, drink, beverage, have a small oil droplet.
Iya.
So every day, please don't drink the nanoemulsions.
Oke. Jadi intinya adalah cari oil droplet yang size-nya itu optimal, bukan paling tinggi, bukan paling rendah. Kalau paling tinggi dimakan nggak enak, kalau paling rendah nggak ada yang namanya selektivitas di sini, sehingga nanti akan menjadi rusak dari tubuh kita seperti itu. Oke.
Yeah, therefore the small oil droplet for cosmetic. The skin of a
Oh.
the basement.
Ya.
Don't through the nanomargin.
Oke.
Therefore the for cosmetic.
Oke.
A lot of company make the nano cosmetic for antioxidant.
Oke.
So therefore the small how to use the oil droplet in food and cosmetic.
Ya. Termasuk di kosmetik.
Yeah.
Kan ke wajah, malah masuk ke dalam tubuh.
Yeah.
Gitu.
So almost I have a small, a little bit time, and when you have a question, so please
Oke.
have a question. Thank you very much.
Okay, please give applause to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Okay. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation, and I think Professor Hidefumi Yoshii give us comprehensive insight about spray drying and microencapsulation to become the functional food, and it can be used to make some food that are increasing the nutritional for the food, something like that. Okay. First of all, I would like to explain a simple explanation about the presentation by the Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. That is, if you would like to make a some encapsulation using spray drying, you should consider about something like moisture content. The important thing is the glass transition temperature, right? Yeah, the important thing is the glass transition temperature, because the glass transition temperature will give some properties or morphology to the wall material. So the powder have two things, there are wall and core. If you want to make a good shape of the droplet, you should using wall material with, I think, amphiphilic properties. Wall material have amphiphilic properties. It's the best, yeah, I think like that. Okay, so using amphiphilic properties on the wall material to give better shape of the material, because the smaller oil droplet will be affect to the smaller of the oil, surface oil. If the surface oil is lower, so the longer powder will be expired. So the expired date will be longer. But if you make some oil droplet very low, it cannot be used, not healthy to your body, because it cannot be selective and tidak bisa dipisahkan, cannot be filtered by your body, something like that. Okay, so if we want to make some spray drying encapsulation using oil droplet not so high and not so low, I think for the in short, like just so, something like that. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. You can sit here. Thank you. And then I would like to invite for the audience, please feel free to ask the question to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Maybe we can have 3 questions from the audience. Please feel free. I would like to have the interaction so active in this session. Anyone to have some question? I think the audience want to think about like spray drying, because for them this is the new learning, new knowledge, because they want to have some processing in their brain to have some question. So I have one question. It's okay. Okay. First of all, my expertise is material, especially in membrane material. But I have some interest like the foam drying.
Foam drying.
Yeah, foam drying. I think spray drying and foam drying is like same, like a cousin. Same principle. So my question is, when we will, or when we used to spray drying, and when we should use foam drying. Thank you very much.
So, for example, the foam drying case, low glass transition material, we can get the dried powder, not dried powder. Foam drying case, we cannot get the powder in some kind of the aggregated condition and then mirrored. Therefore, the foam drying case, after drying, we have to make the small powder using the mirror. So the mirror process is very important.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Okay, for the audience, anyone to make some question, please feel free to raise your hand. Anyone? I think spray drying in technology like industrial is so general because industrial in Indonesian also using spray drying. Up to 70 to 80% industrial in Indonesia using spray drying because it's very cheap, like. But in university, in laboratory, the spray drying something like unexpensive thing. So, especially in industrial chemical engineering technology, we also using drying, but with conventional drying, with the sun, because it's free, and we can do it every time because Indonesian just have two seasons, rainy and sunny. So, on your opinion, to prevent the nutritional in the food, better than using conventional methods like sun drying or spray drying to prevent the nutritional added food?
Depend on the source material. And in food case, the cost is very important. The food spray drying process, the cost is very cheap. But sometimes the tomatoes drying, and for the pizza, sun drying, Turkey and some kind of the East country use the sun drying. Therefore, the sun drying is very important because to the environmental condition, temperature is very high, 40, 45, and therefore so please think about how to use the sun drying without during the rainy season. But now in Indonesia is which season is the rainy season, but the drying, please think about the sun drying with dry, not rainy season. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yoshii Sensei, Yoshii Sensei. Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other question? Okay, please.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Latifa Indah Pratiwi. I'm from Industrial Chemical Engineering, Vocational School, Diponegoro University. Okay. My question is, Indonesia has many natural ingredients like ginger, turmeric, and temulawak that could be developed as a functional food. Nah, in your opinion, what are the opportunities for collaboration between universities and industry to create globally competitive product using encapsulation? Thank you.
Not question, your comment. What's the question?
She just want to know your opinion about how to make some relationship between industrial and researching about our natural sources like temulawak or ginger, something like that. Ginger. Using drying and encapsulation, something like that. Just want to know your opinion about that.
Difficult question. So the meaning so when we go to the noodle shop, Marugame, So
Ramen.
they have a ginger in the Japanese style. So the ginger is not encapsulated. You know the ginger, how to use in noodle, Japanese noodle? Yeah. But so recently, many consumers want to use the natural materials. In the expression, we use the modified starch, some kind of the emulsifier, and so we add the many compounds. In processed food, contain the not natural compound. Therefore, the natural is better. Therefore, my opinion, so the fish oil is very, very unsafe. When we want to get the stable oil condition, we need to encapsulate the fish oil in the powder state. But the ginger, so there's some compound. So the stable, unstable, and the compound. So those natural compounds used rapidly using. Therefore, recently, custard cream and some kind of the food and many food like tofu. Tofu shelf life is very short. Tempeh. So the shelf life is 2 months and 1 month. And, what's the shelf life of the tempeh? Tempeh is 2 weeks, is 1 month. And
No. I think tempeh is just 1 week.
One?
1 week for the
1 week.
long life, right?
Yeah.
Long life for 1 week.
1 week. So the encapsulation powder is for the shelf life, long shelf life product. But for like such as tempeh,
Yeah.
tofu, and
Yeah.
some kind of the ginger,
Yeah.
those product case, not encapsulation product is better.
Okay.
So then recently trend how to control the shelf life or using method. So that this is not engineering and some kind of the economical
In the communication
strategy.
aspect, something
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so I can conclude that not all food that should convert using encapsulation spray drying. Sometimes some food is better with their natural form, something like that. So if you want to eat ramen, you want to have ginger, you just want natural form from ginger, not the powder of ginger, something like that, sir. So not all food is need to convert it using the encapsulation between spray drying. So not all food. Okay. Based on your experience, I just want to know the best wall material you should make and you use. So I just want to know, but based on your experience, what is the best wall material that we will to use, something like that?
So very difficult question. So when we think about wall material, so the maltodextrin starch and those material have a low oxygen diffusivity, inhibit the oxidation. But the dextrin price is a little expensive than the protein, whey protein and the natural protein. And so the protein is oxygen diffusivity higher than the maltodextrin. So when we think about which raw material we use, so that we have to think about the oxygen difficulty in raw material. Also, we have to think protein have emulsification ability. So the company and the consumer don't eat the detergent emulsifier. Therefore, company want to use the protein. Therefore, we have to control the oxygen diffusivity in raw material, and then also the emulsification ability. Therefore, this is a very difficult selection of raw material. This is some kind of the know-how. So, therefore, the selection, the raw material, how to operate. So, very difficult engineering. Therefore, I can have a job to speak the lecture.
Okay. So it just depend on various variables.
Yeah.
So difficult to choose what one the most best the wall material, something like that. So I want to have just one more question. There are between synthetic and natural wall material. What is the best option to make the encapsulation using spray drying? Between synthetic wall material or natural wall material?
For example, the modified starch have emulsification ability, and also the low oxygen diffusivity. Modified starch is don't have the allergic effect modified, but the small amount of the synthetic compound. But almost 20 years ago, the company want to use the modified starch for the allergic effect. But recently, the consumer think about the natural is best. So therefore, the company, they don't want to use the modified starch. They select the mixture of the natural compound. The recently trend is that they want to use the natural raw material and without allergic effect. So therefore, the European countries, they use the pea protein and some kind of the protein and not whey protein. And therefore, still they investigate. They are looking find the optimum raw material.
Okay. So based on the mindset of the people, for example, like me, I also think that the best answer or the best item for the food material is natural compound, but in the spray drying it cannot be all natural. I think let's mixing something like that. Okay. Any other question from the other audience? Okay, thank you very much. Di depan dulu silakan.
Okay, my name is Zahwa Sabila. I'm from Industrial Chemical Engineering. In Indonesia, has many potential for food engineering, but several of them contains carcinogenic compound. So, is there any potential for food encapsulation to reduce the potential in several diseases, such as cancer, or maybe to reduce the carcinogenic substance? Thank you.
Okay. You understand the question? So in Indonesian is have natural compound, but sometimes there are have like carcinogenic, carcinogenic like toxic.
Toxic.
Some toxic in their natural compound. Tadi apa? Menghilangkannya. So is that possible that using spray drying, especially with encapsulation, is reducing the toxic compound and that natural?
Yeah, so you want to control the toxicity, using some kind of release control of the toxic compound. So I think the release control is important to get the encapsulant using the toxic compound. But we want to, everyone want to don't use the toxic compound. But when we using the release control, maybe we can get the good ability of the encapsulant using the toxic compound.
Okay, jadi why we should using toxic compound? Just using the best another natural compound, something like that. Because using spray drying, it cannot be control the toxic compound, but it can control the release of the spray of the powder. Jadi bisa lebih, ibarat kata kayak untuk rilisnya atau larutnya itu bisa lebih lama, bisa diatur seperti itu, gitu ya. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do you want to, how many question that you want to answer again? There are 2 question more. Could you? Okay, it's okay. Okay, 2 question more. Okay. For this girl, ladies first. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Yoshii. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Elsa Amalia Putri. I'm from Industrial Chemical Engineering Technology from class 2023. So I'm currently preparing a research proposal focused on adding dragon fruit extract powder to white chocolate, and my work is supervised by Mr. Hermawan. Based on the journals I read, the powder's particle size is crucial to creating a smooth chocolate texture. However, it's often difficult to achieve the ideal particle size when drying a viscose extract. My question is, what are the most important parameters or adjustments in the spray drying process to ensure resulting powder has a uniform and fine particle size, especially for materials with high viscosity like dragon fruit extract? That's all for me. Thank you.
So, very difficult question, the engineering question. So, particle size depend on in spray drying case, depend on the instrument size. So the small size of the spray dryer, maybe this university have a small spray dryer, but maybe that nozzle atomizer can make maybe the 5 micrometer, 10 micrometer spray dry powder. So the powder size usually depend on the instrument size. Usually the spray drying, so that when we think about the size, so the 1 hour, usually maybe the 2 or 1 kilogram per hour can evaporate the water. Evaporation amount is the spray dryer. For example, the 3 kilogram water per hour, those value indicate the size of the spray dryer. So the powder size depend on the size of the spray dryer. So the industrial, for example, 10 ton per hours spray dryer can make the big powder. Instrument is very big.
Okay.
Usually, we cannot control the powder size. Depend on the size of spray dryer. But when we want to get the good powder, free flowing and some kind of the properties, maybe the above 50 micrometer, small oil droplet powder case. Surface area of the powder is very big, higher. Therefore, the absorption, moisture absorption, very rapid. Therefore, in food case, above 50 micrometers powder is better. Therefore, maybe the spray dryer size is 20 kilogram water per hour's evaporation ability. That is the industrial scale. Therefore, the very difficult question. So the powder size depend on the instrument, spray dryer's type.
Okay.
It's okay?
Okay, thank you very much. So just if you look like some NPK pupuk, you know there are granulator tower. Granulator tower have depend like spray dryer. You spray the liquid like NPK pupuk tadi, lalu di spray. Setelah di spray turun ke bawah, lama kelamaan akan membentuk butiran kecil. Semakin lama akan semakin besar. Jadi, so the size of powder is depend the instrumentation, something like tower, how big the dryer, it can be control the size of the powder. Jadi berapa lama berhubungan dengan udara, berapa jauh jatuhnya, seberapa besar alatnya, itu juga mempengaruhi dari ukuran partikelnya tadi. Seperti itu. Jadi ada banyak cara. Yang bisa kita lakukan adalah kita nyoba berkali-kali, nanti dapat yang terbaik, itulah yang kita lakukan. Okay, thank you very much. And then the last question, but not least, because 2 days after this day, there are visiting lecturer again, right? So the last question in this session.
Hello, Professor. Konnichiwa. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. Let me introduce myself. My name is Pademan Azra. If a spray dried product exhibits very low surface oil content, does that always mean it has high oxidative stability? Explain other possible factors that could contribute to the product remaining susceptible to oxidation. And one more, how can the difference in hygroscopicity properties between low DA, dextrose equivalent, and high DA, while materials affect the shelf life of oil encapsulated powders when stored at high humidity? Thank you. Oh, intinya jadi bentar.
Yeah, I can answer that. Maybe the selection of the raw material is very important, but depend on the core material. And then we have to control the shelf life. Some fish oil case, we need the very long shelf life, 1 year, 1.5 year. But some compound, stable compound case, so shelf life is 2 months, 3 months. Therefore, how to think about the shelf life of the powder? So how to use the powder? So some powder, they use the powder soluble in water and then add the food process. Therefore, the selection of the raw material, such as the dextrin D, and therefore it's a very difficult question. So that depend on the core material shelf life in powder and how to use of the powder in food process. So sometime, so the powder should be soluble in water, or some powder we just mixture of the powder case, we don't need to think of the solubility in water. Therefore, and then how to use the food when we think of the texture in food. So that we can see the many food products of the powder. So that some, the addition food, the additional food powder is a small amount, big amount. Usually the flavor powder in food such as the bread and some kind of, those percentage of powder in food is very small. Therefore, how to use the powder in food process and eating process. So the selection of the raw material, recently thinking, usually the almost 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we think about only the process of the how to use of the powder in process. But recently, food engineer thinking about the metabolic of the food at intestine, at stomach, some encapsulate core material release the stomach. Some raw material can release the intestine. Therefore, recently we have to think about which raw material is best. So in the food process, the 10 is best, but the texturing, the eating at the intestine, at the stomach, these 20 is better. So we have to think about the metabolism of the food powder. So therefore, I cannot answer. We have to think about many things. It's okay?
Okay, it's okay. No problem. After this, I think Mr. Hermawan will explain again to the student. So, based on the answer from the Professor Hidefumi Yoshii is, if you want to make some encapsulation, food encapsulation, you just don't think about what about raw material, what about the texture, but you should thinking about the metabolism in your body. If you eat it, is that the biomaterial or have some toxics like this girl asked before. So not about just the properties on morphologies, because in industrial technology, for example in the fabric, you should know about how people want to buy it, how people if eat dead food, is that have some poison or not, something like that. Okay, so because we are from the industrial technology, we should know about the technology in industrial, for example, in the people or masyarakat, something like that. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Please give applause. Please give a warm to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. I hope all of us have a gain experience, have gain comprehensive, insightful about the food encapsulation, especially in spray drying and micro encapsulation. Thank you very much. On behalf on organizing committee, I would like to thanks again to Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Arigatou gozaimasu for giving the lecture. And thank you very much for all audience that come here, gather here to have some experience, to have some learning about some new like spray drying. Please enjoy the rest of program. We have more days to learn about food processing with Professor Hidefumi Yoshii. Now I would like to give back to Master of Ceremony to have next agenda. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so very much for Professor Hidefumi for today's insightful lecture, and also to Mr. Abdullah Malik for moderating the session. Ladies and gentlemen, before we officially close today's agenda, we will have a short documentation session. We kindly invite all distinguished guests, lecturers, and participants to please stand and get ready to the group photo. Please to the audience to rise. For the audience, please. Okay. For the first photo shoot, let's take a formal pose. 1, 2, 3. Once again. 1, 2, 3. For the second, let's show our vocational spirit pose. Vocational spirit. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And for the one, when I say vokasi, please respond with juara. Okay? Vokasi. Juara. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for. All the participants, please be seated again. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of today's session. On behalf of the committee, we sincerely thank you for your active participation. We look forward to welcoming you again in the next visiting professor lecture. That's all for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.